Hello, welcome to the Swatches live stream. I'm Clint, and this is Diana. We are art instructors and illustrators and studio directors, and we are here today to look at your submitted art and portfolios. It is a live stream, so I'm going to take a minute to double check our settings, and you guys let us know that our audio and visual is good, and we can get into it. Yeah, that intro video used to have audio,
It does
music,
have audio.
but YouTube kept flagging it. So I got tired of having to fight YouTube's automated flagging system.
It's supposed to be royalty free.
Yeah, it's supposed to be royalty free, but anyway, they don't like it. So I decided just to mute it. We have a couple of announcements, and then we will start taking a look at the artwork. So, the sponsor really of this portfolio review, art review, is us. It's Swatches Academy. So, if you guys are looking for some outstanding art courses on a variety of levels, from beginner to semi-pro, then check out swatchesacademy.com.
There's also, I just want to say, there's also pros taking your classes.
Yes,
so it's beyond semi-pro now.
Yeah, we actually recently finished running a course of the material rendering for a set of Blizzard artists. So this is Blizzard team artists. We're getting some, it's kind of like extra credit training. Running through that. They had a really good time. We had a really good time just teaching with them, and everybody found it very beneficial. So currently there is a sale on character concept design. That's Diana's class, and you can use code DESIGN15 to save 15% on that during June. But one of the big news is we're going to Lightbox this year.
Yes.
As a exhibitor, not just
Not
going to attend.
And we won't be in the artist alley, so you'll have to look for us in whatever the other room is.
Yeah, so we'll be in the exhibitors hall. We should have a 10 by 10 foot, and we will be representing the academy and the studio. So if you ever wanted to meet us, or if you're coming, then make sure you come by, say hi. We'd love to meet you and hear what's going on with your art career or goals.
I think I don't know yet because they're still organizing, I guess, the schedule, the program for the event. So I don't know if we're going to do portfolio reviews through them, like they're going to set it up, or if we're going to set it up, but I think we're going to do them regardless, right?
We're going to try to. We've not heard whether... I applied to do it through them, but I've not heard back. So I'm assuming at this point it's probably not going to be official through the...
Well, if they already had a lot of people, then they may not need it. So I don't know exactly how it's going to work out. I know they don't have a lot of private rooms and spaces for portfolio reviews. So if there's no room for us through their system, then we'll just do it at our booth, because I think we should have a big enough booth for it.
Okay, if you're looking for some extra stuff to study, or if you've not got into the 100 Club yet, then on the Swatches Discord, which is just swatchesdiscord.com, should get you over there, then Dinah compiled a new 100 portrait PSD pack. And we have it of figures. That's also still out there. A lot of people have actually already completed the 100 figure studies.
Yeah, they already did them. They're pinned to the top of the channel if you want to know where they are. But this new one is fairly low in the recent posts. So it's just portraits. You can draw them or you can paint them like I did. I just did these painted ones as just a quick example. But you can just sketch them out if you want to. You don't have to fully paint them. And those have 100 in there already for you. So you just turn on the layers and you'll see them.
Yes, we are back in North America right now. So that makes Lightbox doable, if you want to say it that way. Okay, we're going to jump into the art reviews But if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the live chat. We'll try to keep an eye on it, especially if we are looking at your artwork and you're getting your stuff reviewed here live and you want clarifications, have extra questions that come to mind, just let us know. We'd be happy to take those.
Also, just want to recommend all this stuff that we're talking about is in the monthly newsletter. We always post all of our stuff, including like free art files and coupons and stuff in the newsletter. And we only send it out once a month. So if you want to get this stuff in your inbox and not be like unaware of when we're running a sale, just go to the website. I think it's at the bottom of the page, right?
Yeah, the bottom of every page in the footer, there's a newsletter sign up. We don't spam you. Honestly, the most common thing is just the newsletter comes out the first part of every month.
Yeah, and then occasionally you might get an email about a live stream coming up, but that's it.
Okay, well, let's take a look at our submissions for today. We've already glanced at these, made a few notes on my other monitor up here. That's not them. These are other artists. Okay. So if anyone... Okay. Let me start with this. These are completely free reviews. If anybody wants one, you can just go to the Swatches Discord. Let me pull it over. So here it is, Swatches Discord. And you want to put your stuff in the video critique submissions folder right here, and just as they say here, just tell us kind of what the goal is that you want from the review. What's the goal? You're trying to get in concept art, you're trying to get into illustration, you have questions about what to train, strengths, weaknesses, whatever. Kind of give us an idea of the sort of feedback you're looking for, and then just shoot us a link to your portfolio, and we just take these and review them in the order that we receive them. Once we get about 5 or 6 of them, we'll do a review. So, Daniel, I'm not familiar with that name. Demille?
We're trying our best with some of your names, so if we get them wrong, I'm sorry.
We'll start with the comments they had. Aspiring concept artist and illustrator with goals in making it in the game studio as a junior designer or concept artist, being a generalist. I don't have a lot of artist friends near me, just trying to be getting some feedback. This is my first concept art project. I'm wondering if it's good enough for me to apply for a few concept art gigs or small studios. Any feedback is appreciated. Now, I saved off some pieces here, but I also have this on the website, so let's pull that up and look at it there. And if we need to go in more detail, we'll go into Photoshop. Yep.
Oh, did we miss Dan's? Dan said his got pushed back. We should have had Dan's on this list.
Somehow
I get pushed back. Dan, we're gonna look at yours. All right, we're gonna look at it. I don't know. It's sometimes like it screws up
sometimes
the order.
It pushes things to not be in order. I thought I checked.
I know that Dan was on there, but I didn't know the order of things.
So I was like, we already reviewed those and this and this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fairness. I don't know where yours went.
Where did it go? That's weird. It was on here at some point.
Well, we can do yours impromptu. We can just work it in.
Yeah,
I don't
just do
care.
that.
Like I know I can look you up on ArtStation, right?
Oh, there is this.
Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah, it got thrown out of order because I scanned down. I was like, oh, I already looked at all those. Okay.
Rip Dan. No, we found it. We're gonna do it.
I'll pull it in as the second one. We'll do that. Okay. So Demille, you're wanting. Okay, first thing is, it's pretty good for a first concept art project. A lot more thorough, I would say, than what you get for,
You're getting in the right zone.
yeah, a lot of people. But let's scan through this, kind of show what we're looking at. Now, I have a bit of a theme for this stream, or at least a topic. Let's say it that way. Topic being flags, right? When we review, or anyone reviews portfolios, to consider them for potentially hiring that person or bringing them into an art school or something like that, then you're looking for different flags. What you want is green flags. Green flags is anything that you see in their portfolio that's just like, yep, good show of skills, good show of judgment. Everything just makes you want to say, contact that person and, and tell them yes. Now, occasionally, what we all want is gold flags. That's like, as soon as you see that piece,
you don't even question.
Yeah, it's just hire this person. This person's so good. Like, if I open this up and it looked like Igor Sid's portfolio, I'd just be like, okay, just tell him yes.
I'll find a place for him.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But really what I'm aiming for is...
Paint green flags, got it.
You want green flags. Now, but when we're being critical, what we can come across is often like yellow flags. Those are things that kind of get me on the alert. Like, it's a little off. It's an odd choice. Probably not the best choice. But if there's not very many of them, I can deal with it. It's probably okay. Orange flag would be something like, okay, that's obviously problematic. Maybe they just really have not studied that particular topic. A red flag would be something I see and just automatic disqualification. There's clearly bad understanding, or like you don't understand perspective and you're trying to draw this building. It's obviously off. So when we're looking through it, sometimes it's an automatic, because to us it's a red flag. Other times...
Just to clarify, like a red flag is a major problem in any of like the 5 or 6 core fundamentals.
Yeah. And the other ones could just be like, a yellow flag might be, that I'm really not a fan of the background they put behind that character. Like, it's not optimal, right? So when I'm looking through these, and we're going to take this sort of approach with everybody's portfolio that we look at today, because give you guys a little background. We run Swatches Studio, which is doing outsourcing illustration work right now, mainly for D&D. Is who we're doing the most for.
There's 2 other clients,
Yeah,
but
there are
D&D is the bulk.
And we needed to get some more artists on the roster because we had more images come in than we were expecting. So Dinah made a post on LinkedIn.
I honestly didn't think that many people would even see it.
We're small fish in this game as far as studios are concerned, and that got us over 700 applications. So we've been reviewing lots and lots and lots of portfolios, and you've got to be able to sort through them very quickly. And what we've learned is, there are certain things that make your portfolio really stand out, and there are certain things that just kind of make it forgettable and go into the group. Okay. That is kind of a good, but it's more.
So first thing I want to say to Jamil, because this is, I think, your first portfolio, right? Like your first crack at concept art. I'm not one of the things I question immediately is I'm not sure who you're targeting. Yeah. Like, which studios is this meant for? Is this for like mobile games? I feel like maybe it is. Mm-hmm. Is it for bigger scale stylized games? It looks kind of semi-stylized. The face is more cartoony than the rest of it, but I'm not sure. So that's kind of a question is... And I don't know if you've given it, if you're watching, maybe you can let us know in the chat who was it meant for? Were there any specific companies? That's the first thing you need to figure out, and then produce things that those companies can use, right?
Yeah, I agree. Stylistic choice. Some of it seems to be trying to be more realistically rendered. Other things like parts of the face, other shapes, definitely more stylized. That's something that is an immediate turnoff, but it makes a potential employer uncertain about what they're going to get back because they're not sure what style you're really working in yet. The anatomy of the head is certainly a factor. Um, the head isn't really symmetrical, and the mouth is like as far forwards as the nose is. So that's something that really needs to be dialed in. Like the faces have to be really good. There's just no room for errors
Yeah.
in the faces.
I gotta explain this to you just because if your portfolio is all characters, the faces are going to be judged more than anything else. I mean, the design is important too, but any recruiter is not going to forgive a face that isn't A+, right? So you really got to focus a lot of attention on the face.
Okay, good sort of options. Those are good. Now let's talk about optimizing. Face variations. Should they be in a portfolio like this? Absolutely. But of the options of how to do face variations, there's better options. So if you're going to put in the time, don't just have the same face with the same hair and just have like one has a scar and one doesn't. That's too minor of a difference to really be worth taking up that much space.
What you want to show people is that you want to explore the character and you want to explore solutions. Is there anything else that's cool that you could come up with for this guy? Like if you were playing him in a game and you wanted to customize his hair, what other hair? So could he have a mohawk? Maybe it's shaved on the sides. Maybe it's got braids down the middle. Maybe braids on the sides. Maybe it's long on one of the variations. You know, just giving the client more to look at.
Yeah. So try bigger, broader variation options instead of just locking more things in one. Okay, coming down here, like more of this, like one has hair on the top, one has a beard, one is shaven. Okay, but let's get painted version of those. Explore those more. Okay.
See what else. So this is good. We're getting into some variations of an axe. Would be good to see different handles. These are really similar, like the differences are minor. Maybe more differences in the silhouette of the handle too, and in the silhouette of the blade would be good.
You know, you could still have the same idea for this axe, the same general shape of it, but still have some more variations within it for this stage. Okay, there is definitely some good rendering here. I particularly like that this is very cleanly rendered. The lines are nice and clean. This flat style that you have right here is excellent. This is a very professional sort of way to do nice clean lines that have some weight thickness to them. You put the colors in there. The colors aren't 100% saturation. Like you're controlling those saturations a little bit, which really makes it better. The design here, we want to pick on the design a little bit. The idea is that this is all the same thing. Cool Destiny.
Same world?
Property, yeah. So everything that I see so far is medieval, medieval, medieval. Then I just get this. I'm going to be a little picky and say you can have like robotic mechanics in a fantasy world, but there's a difference between what those look like and what sci-fi tech looks like. So this is more what you'd expect to see like on a Gundam, where it's got this kind of tech. Whereas more like fantasy tech generally is not this sleek. and it's got more spots where you can see rivets. It looks like it was made in an older.
More gears.
Yeah, more gears, more tubes, wires, little exhaust port, things like this. Probably not, or at least not quite that style. Okay, that's nitpicking a little bit. I'm going to point out other few things. Like, these are yellow flags. This isn't like, that wouldn't automatically turn me off from the portfolio. But like the knee guard. Okay, having a knee guard, fine. But this piece just doesn't make sense. The fact that it goes behind, like, instead of just guarding the shin, instead of just...
It's an odd design.
Yeah, it's an odd design choice.
And especially when we see it from the back.
Yeah.
One thing just about color that I'm going to mention to you, I actually like all of these better than the one that you ended up rendering. And the reason is not because I hate bright colors or anything, no. Although, just to let you know, anything that's colored really brightly kind of makes it look like it's for mobile or a young market.
Yes.
So it's like if it's for young kids or if it's for mobile games like casino stuff. So this looks more of like a higher tier.
Mm-hmm.
And also you want to, one thing here that you did well was a lot of these colors are either repeated or they're in the same family, which is nice. Here it's kind of one of each. It's the turquoise top, the pink thing, the purple shorts. This is blue, this is yellow, and you don't see the same color anywhere else. Like there's nothing purple over here, there's nothing pink over here, so there's nothing that really ties it together. It's just
we're getting a bit of the whole crayon box, which makes it, like you said, kind of kiddie fair, or definitely just more mobile.
Yeah, so if you were going for something a little bit more elevated or more high-end, more realistic maybe, then these color options have like just a better feel.
Yeah.
But it's not that this is wrong. Like if you're going for a more youthful look, or if it's, you know, really you want to be attention grabby, then for sure super saturated will do that.
Okay, again, the stylistic thing, the face is quite stylized. The proportions of the eyes, the length of the nose, and we're not getting quite the same stylization carried throughout the rest of the character to the degree that it would feel consistent. So as you develop your skills, as you develop whatever your next project is, keep an eye on that and have an idea before you start, like what the balance is between how stylized, how realistic you're trying to go with it.
Yeah, I recommend looking at some of TB Choi's work and seeing how she balances out the proportions in a stylized face and in the body. Remember, you got to keep the appeal too. It's got to be attractive to the viewer, appealing. Do you have an example?
Yeah, I have something.
Oh, there you go. Something like that.
So she has several pages like this. There's multiple characters. More realistic. I would even consider that semi-stylized.
Yeah, it's not fully realistic.
Yeah. To more stylized, to even more stylized. And even doing studies like this, like get a real human head and do some studies like this. That would be well worth your time just to really clarify to yourself and your own skills and your own observation what the best option is. So here's another one. This lady. Again, you can see the scale of the features to the face, shape of the face, the simplification of like the hair strands into more graphical shapes.
They almost get, as they get more stylized, they get closer to like an anime, right? Like the eyes get bigger and the nose gets smaller. But that's not necessarily true for all character types, right? So, well, that's going really extreme.
Yeah, that goes a long way. It's somebody else.
But you get the idea, right? So it's just finding that right balance. So we're getting still kind of a realistic overall head shape. And the eyes are getting very close together as they get large. So the proportion feels off. It feels like there's too much distance here between the mouth and the eyes. Feels like they're too close together. If we could just scrunch the face down a little bit, it would look cuter.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So anyway, just a suggestion, something to think about.
Okay.
But the main thing that would help you the most, I think, is just really defining who your target is.
Yes.
What client, so that you can at least have a really concrete look that you're shooting for.
Now, the first project you do here, the thing that's most important that you're going to learn is just how to do a project. What's involved? What's the process? How much work is it? Finding some of the things that like we're pointing out, little strengths, weaknesses, and great. Just use that as a learning tool. Do I think you're ready to go submit this for work? I mean, you can if you want, but my recommendation is work on your skills before you go look for more job. There's a simple principle that killer skills, not just adequate skills, killer skills sell themselves. You have to do very little work to sell yourself to a company or to a client when you have killer skills. However, what you see a lot of times is someone gets just adequate skills and then they spend a crazy amount of effort trying to get themselves work.
I've seen literally people spend years on this with the same portfolio trying to do this.
And the thing is this. You think the best possible thing that can happen right now is for you to get clients. But what's going to happen is as soon as you get clients, you're going to lock into doing everything the way that you're doing it right now. Because that's the way that it's safe, that's what you know, and you're really not going to improve. So right now, when you're not having client expectations and money on the line, is when you can really buckle down and improve your skills the fastest and with the least amount of stress. Because people have a tendency, like as soon as they hit, like their skills are going up and up and up and up, then they hit that first client and then it does this. You just level off because you're too busy and you're too caught up in doing the client's work to do in-depth studies and changes and experimentations.
And that's on like that's in the situation that you actually get a client.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be honest with you. I've seen this with a few people too. Sometimes the worst thing that can happen to you when you're not ready and you don't have the skills yet is to actually get a client. Because then you really got yourself in a pickle. And if you do poorly with that client, it's going to be really hard to get another one, and they're going to cut you really fast, and it's going to be really bad for morale.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like if you get a break and you're not ready yet and you do a bad job on that first assignment, they're just going to can the assignment. It won't even get published, and that'll be that. So sometimes the worst, like, I don't remember who it was. Some artist much higher up than me said, like, when you're not ready and you don't have the skills, the worst thing that can happen to you is actually getting the job that you're applying for, because you're just going to mess it up. So anyway, take that for what it's worth. It's better to be ready, for sure.
So suggestion is, if you feel like you want additional training somewhere, go get it. Obviously, we have stuff. We think it's good. But it depends on what you're trying to learn. There are plenty of things we don't have any education on. So you want to learn any of that stuff, go find it somewhere. Then outline another project. What you did right here, excellent. Right? And I would say start something new. Don't just do Cool Destiny again. Do something that has a different design, a different time period, right? Different culture or something.
And it's targeted at a specific client.
Yeah. Like I'm aiming for whatever. Pick a genre.
It could be anything. It could be casino games. It could be some other type of mobile action game. It could be some kind of AAA stylized shooter. Whatever it is that you want to work on.
You're already showing. I will just mention this last thing. We'll move on to the next one, which is you're already showing a lot of professionalism in, again, the thoroughness. You're going through lots of iterations, lots of variations. You're making notes. You're putting ideas together. You're doing color variations. Right. This is something that it's hard to get a lot of people to actually do.
Mm-hmm.
So already you're ahead of the curve of a lot of people because they don't go through all the steps necessary. You are. So we're just trying to get those skills and just refine them a little bit. And you should be good. Yep.
So hopefully that was helpful. Yep. Let's go to Dan, because Dan has been waiting longer than I think some of these people.
Yep.
Because he posted a while back.
Okay, let me pull his.
And I know there's other people in there. I don't know if because we don't know the order anymore. If we missed anyone or we pulled people in the wrong order, I'm sorry. You'll have to let us know. Post in the Discord or write it in the chat or something, and then we'll get to you on the next video for sure.
Okay, this is Dan. Oh, I didn't realize you were in Austin. Okay.
Oh.
I grew up in Texas, spent most of my life in Texas. So. Okay. I closed that, so I didn't see. Okay. Like to transition. That's non-gambling related. Okay, so you're doing like slots, gambling art. Difficulty getting my art out there to masses without feeling like you're spamming. Any advice on that would be helpful. As far as other goals, since I'm not desperate for employment, I've really tried to find my style and hone it instead of trying to match a specific studio. I do, however, apply to MTG. Okay.
MTG is hard these days. They are very demanding now.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I can't read it. It's too small.
I think I really need help trimming my portfolio.
Okay. Let's take a look.
The initial impression is very important because sometimes that's all you get. Like Diana's been looking over 700 portfolios.
I just look at the top 2 rows because I honestly did not have time. I needed someone right away.
The impression is good. There is a lot of, I think there's a lot of clarity like in the kind of artwork that you're interested in doing here. And I don't see anything that immediately says to me like student work, right? Sometimes people just put in like unfinished sketches and that sort of stuff, and we're not getting that here.
Yeah, my first impression is your rendering is good. That's what I noticed right away.
And you are tackling complex subjects, action scenes, multiple light sources, magic effects, possibly multiple figures, action poses. Okay. Then it gets down to some older stuff. Okay, we got some off designs there. Okay. So let's start flipping through Nami. Okay, we've said it before, which is splash art, and splash art specifically of well-known characters for mainly League of Legends. It really, really needs to be really good because everybody knows what that's supposed to look like. So there's a lot of good things about this, but it also falls a little short, not because it's got these inherent problems and mistakes, but because I recognize it as not being right. So what we consider is like, you're looking in the ring, the boxing ring, and you're going, oh, well, there's a...
I'm going to pick the biggest guy in there to
yeah.
fight. It's a hard fight to win.
It's like Mike Tyson's in there. Great, I'll hop in there and go against him. All right, you just chose the toughest person you could to pick a match against. And So for this, okay, well, I'll try to give a little feedback. At this point, to Dan, to everyone else, Dan is not making fundamental errors in his pieces. So this isn't a situation where you're saying, oh, he just doesn't understand this basic thing. A lot of the feedback at this level begins to become more about ideas, tighter rendering of things. It's composition, like lighting and values is a big one on this particular piece, where a lot of this, where there's a lot of information back here, is just kind of flattening out.
There's also something here, but I can't see it.
There's this, I guess there's a fish coming up to attack her, or the mouth of the octopus or something. But the fact that I can't clearly tell what that is problematic. The fact that I can't tell whether these things belong to that is a problem. Or if I don't really know who Nami is, I don't know that these aren't part of her. Right? That's also a problem. Like, I don't know that she doesn't have the octopus tendrils. Well, she doesn't. This is her tail, but that's only because I know who this character is. We could really use more light behind the character here to push it into the midtones, or we need more light on this blue light hitting the back of her, because we're getting a bad value pair where the value on her and the value on the background is almost exactly the same.
This is generally something we want to avoid in most images, is not allowing every plane in the image to have the same range of values. So if you have the same values everywhere all over the image, we can't separate the planes, and it starts to become kind of a texture effect, right? So what are you pulling up here?
I'm just saying, like, this is a leak piece, and you see how every part of this character stands out from the background. You've got to have enough light around the character that you have really good separation everywhere. And most of them are that way. Mm-hmm. She's particularly dark. We're trying to get the focus up here. I don't really care if that's kind of fading. Yeah.
Yeah, add a thumbnail size so you can really see the character popping out.
Okay. Yeah, this is the one that you just did.
It's beautifully rendered.
It's rendered well. I feel like it fits the bill of what that challenge was about. I like how you pulled that out. The dimensionality of it. That's really nice.
It's not easy to do.
Okay.
There are things I really love about this piece.
Yes. The sense of speed, action is really good here, and the energy of the twisting of the body feels really good, but I feel like you haven't quite ran with it. I feel like you've said it, you haven't really ran with it. A few of the things, like, what would you do to push this further? The arrow, I would rather see either the tension where he's still pulling it back, or I see just the trail of electricity of the arrows going.
But then you'd actually need to see the impact.
Yeah, and then I need to see the impact. But right now we don't have either. We just have an arrow stuck freeze frame right there where it's not moving and not being pulled.
Okay, I just want to say this horse is beautiful.
Yes.
It's painted so well. The subtlety that you got on the lighting on the guy is really, really nice. Like this golden light hitting this side. You got this white light here from the arrow hitting this. Really, really sophisticated stuff. The thing I think that like I wish I could see in the image is the monster.
Yes.
I feel like you just pushed him off into the corner and we're supposed to imagine what it is. I think it would have been really nice if we could see the monster actually getting hit by the arrow and coming back and see the impact of magic sparks flying off or something. Or just at least see more of him. But then it's like we're getting into something that it's not an easy fix, right? It would have had to been put there from the start. It's not like you can go do that now. But that is the one thing that I was hoping to see some thumbnails, but there aren't any here. That's one thing that's kind of hurting the image is we just can't see it.
Other things that would just push it a little bit further would be a little more design development on both the character and the Pegasus. That he's got some little metal circles that go around his waist, and that's kind of it. It would be nice if I could see maybe some war paint or scarification.
Tattoos.
Or, tattoos. Or if the braces were made out of something more interesting or a different pattern.
Some straps on him.
This is a magical horse. It can fly. So can we give it glowing eyes? Could it have... Like, go look at the Diablo horses for Diablo 4 and the concepts of those. Can it have some sort of colored pattern or glow, markings coming down it? Can the bottom of the mane be glowing with some color? Just something to elevate it a notch from just being black wings, black horse, black hair, and that's kind of it. Or can we get some major scarring on this guy? Show like this guy's been in battle. This guy's been fighting these things a lot. Maybe even putting scars and stuff on the horse. Like that's what these people do is they fight these dragons.
Yeah. You don't have to have the monster in it too at all. Like it could have just been a hero shot of him just pulling the arrow looking cool and we don't even see the monster. But anyway, those are the main things that we thought when we saw the image. It's got a lot of strengths, but these little aspects kind of prevent it from hitting the 100% mark.
This feels weaker than the other one to me. The handle is nice. This is nice. Anytime that image gets to the point where essentially we just ran out of values, it's just white, then that should be an alert that there's a different way to do this. Because there's always a solution other than it just maxes out to white because I don't have anywhere else to go. So we've got to look for other ways to light this or to handle the lighting, handle the values and colors.
Gotta basically come away from white. So it's like drop the colors in here to get more color out of this ice, drop the tones in the background to darker so this magic actually pops out. So there's a few things you can do to just get more out of it. But it's not the same caliber as like your other images.
Mm-hmm. Okay, again, Malphite for League of Legends. If I didn't know anything about this character or that it was patterned off of a splash art, idea, I'd be like, oh, it's pretty good. But ultimately, when you put this out there...
Were you trying to get work at League, Dan? Was that like the idea? Like, I'm not sure if you're just like a fan of League or were you actually trying to get into Riot?
Well, if you put this in your portfolio, what it conveys to somebody without having any background information is, I'm trying to get work at Riot. That's what it tells a viewer.
Okay, he said not specifically.
Okay, then you may just take this out because I look at this and I say, well, it doesn't match what League splash art is, and this artist is putting it up there because they think it does.
But it's also like too far from Magic, where Magic is going to look at it and think, oh, he's trying to work at League. So okay,
then don't do a League of Legends character do make up something else.
Yeah, I would make up a character and do like a splash of that. And the objective behind a splash is really to sell that character, sell the skin. So whatever the design of the character that you make, try to make it awesome and really sell it to the viewer. That's what really makes them think, okay, this guy can do it. You know what we need. It's like the max appeal possible.
Yeah, for this one, I'm not sure what material. Like I know Malphite is a rock guy, but these shapes are more clay-like. They're more roundy and kind of soft, and they don't come across as hard stone shapes like you would expect for this guy. So that's something I would look at because everything is
the composition
flowy.
is really good on this one, though.
Yeah,
I like the comp and the action.
Okay, similar to what I mentioned on the sword. Anytime that you get to a point where you're maxing out your values, maxing out your saturation, that is a signal to you to find what the other solution is. And that's what we're running into here. That we have straight yellow, just absolute straight yellow. And it's actually the middle of the scene. So the most important area of this scene is the middle, and that's where neither of the main characters are. So compositionally, that's a bit of an issue. It would strengthen it compositionally to actually cut him out and just focus on Rocket.
Or you could put him way further back.
Yeah.
And put Rocket in the middle.
Or you put him over here, just move this guy over here, and then cut off some of that so that we can not be splitting the canvas in half, essentially, is what we're doing. Okay. Also, we can raise the ambient amount of light. So this is a little tip with lighting. So when you have really bright lighting like this, that you need to expose for the majority. If the majority of the character isn't lit, expose for the light. If the majority of the character
compress the darks.
Yeah.
If the majority of the character's in shadow, then compress the lights, right?
So here you're really not exposing for either. The lit area is blown out and the shadow area is underexposed. So we're not getting either. What we should be getting is normal medium values in the shadows on him, and then that's overexposed.
The
and
white
that's fine.
blowout, yeah.
Otherwise, if most of the character was lit, then the lit area would be in the midtones and all the shadows would crunch down to almost black. So unfortunately, what we're getting now is most of the area where the focus and the detail is not very legible because it's so dark.
You could probably bring this up pretty quickly.
Yeah. So I'm being picky with Dan. He knows that I am, but it's because he's operating at a higher level where things about light and exposure and compositional issues and saturation points, that's the conversations that you have at this level. This is a good piece. This one was, based on one of the prompts in the kit. So if you guys also want 700 prompts to work from, then you can pick up the portfolio kit on the website. Good variations, time of day variations, color variations, got some poses. That's nice. Again, I think we could probably push the lighting a little more here. Like I would get that edge light even brighter and try to turn like that leg a little bit. It just gets dark right up to the edge. Could get like some rim light kind of pulling back over it. And a lot of this canvas is that canvas. The sail, great place to have some kind of design. Or some...
Or a pattern, a texture.
Yeah, texture. Can we get like some folds in the fabric as it billows? You know, something like that. Can we get some ropes crossing in front of it as it comes down to this part of the ship? It's kind of an unbroken, just pink rectangle there. So these are just the little things. None of these will make the piece or break the piece, but collectively they could just make it a little stronger.
Mm-hmm.
That's an ambitious piece.
It's a big piece.
Okay. I like the idea behind this, which is doing your own rendition of something people would be familiar with.
It's a good idea.
I don't have to see that this is Bilbo and Smaug. I just know it because you can just recognize that scene. So this is a good idea for everybody that if you're trying to just come up with your own pieces for your portfolio, grab classic literature and do your own variations of them. One of the things that I'm drawn to is like my eye keeps wanting to go back here. I want to look into the distance. And that's where the lightest values really are. So I would consider trying to get a limit on the light and say the light is pooling here, then it goes into darkness as it goes back. And just let that be dark like it is over here or over here. And what that's going to do is not pull your eye up, but keep your eye right down here in this area where only the light is. Okay, classic moment. You are really making it difficult on yourself, man. This is a complex set of lighting scenarios. For this, it looks like you're trying to go realistic with it. Most of it is quite realistic. However, the image is flattening out a lot because the values of the darks in the background is the same as the values of the darks in the foreground. So we need to pull in more atmosphere. Let me just pull in Photoshop.
I have to pull up the live chat on my phone. I can't read it from over there. It's too small.
So if anybody wants to create more atmosphere, like just haze, thicker, air in the scene, you can use a lighten layer and just turn down the opacity. So here I'm going to pick kind of this orangey color at, 54%. And you can modify it afterwards. I just need to pick something to get started. And this is going to mimic either smoke or dust or whatever that's been kicked into the air, or if it is at a great distance, then it would be just air itself over a long distance. And we're trying to push more of the background into the midtones so that we have a plane separation between the foreground characters that are more dark and the background, which is lighter in value. Now, we can come in here and play with it and say, okay, well, do I want it brighter than that? That feels like maybe too much. It feels too hazy, too bright. So we can deepen it. Might get to somewhere about like that. Feels pretty good. And you can see that automatically makes it feel like it has more glow. And maybe we could use a linear dodge, pull it down a little bit. I don't need it at full strength. And we still need some silhouetting. So we've got to be able to pull out the shapes of this guy, but we can't do it by going darker. That's the thing we can't do, because we've got to keep it in that range. So what we can do is go higher. You know, you've already had that solution right here on that lower half. We just need to do more of that. And we need to get just a little more nuanced with it. So through this area, let me grab something a little more saturated there and lower that more. So this part of the air is even further back than he is. So we are essentially adding another layer. And you could also do this with another lightened layer like I did with the first one. And that is going to allow us to then have some separation there and here. It doesn't need to be perfect everywhere, but we need enough of it that we can pull out where the major elements are. We got like a wing back there, so I probably need some there. And back here too. We'll let that get brighter up there. I don't need that scattery one. There we go. Okay, and then we could see if there's any additional places that we need something like put some extra in there, pulling some of that. Just trying to get his head to pop, trying to get this to pop a little bit. You're just adding all these little backlighting, and you know who the king of this is.
Yes, I do. You don't even have to say.
I know you know.
It's Rangia.
It's Rangia. If you guys want to know what masterful use of little backlights and atmospheric spots behind characters look like, you look at Rangia's. I'll pull up one of his pieces and show you what like a high level of this looks like. Give me a moment. I think I have it saved under a folder for Rangia. It's right here. Okay. So take a look at this. Obviously very cool, but let me show you where you see this coming into effect. Almost every element here has a little backlight atmosphere to it. You need to be able to see the chin. Lights, 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 lights. Oh, look at that. There's lights here. You're particularly looking for corners and clear shapes. There's backlights there. There's backlights in the freaking teeth. The teeth have backlights.
It's got LED teeth.
Yeah. Even here, he has like two different colors. The hide part of the dragon is lighter, which allows him to essentially do his same little backlighting trick. Even down here, he's inventing it. He's just putting this little green tone right there to make those pop out. Everywhere around here, it's no coincidence that all of these light spots are right behind all of these scales. That's all very intentional. See that? Loads of them right
Maybe
there.
Zoom out so they can see.
Yeah.
In the corners of the arms and legs, the body.
Yep. Right here, look at that. Put a light right there. Each armpit, there's one right here, between the leg and the body, one there. He's put ones behind here. There's ones behind those, right? So that's essentially what we are implementing on this, is we are just trying to pop that stuff out. So that's where I would go with this to take it another notch up, that it has more value separation, there's more subtlety, and there's a greater sense of depth with the planes.
Just on a compositional note, someone pointed out your Archer, your Legolas looks like he's shooting Gandalf, right?
Yeah.
I know he's shooting these guys, and I know the scene from the movie, right? There's all these guys shooting arrows at them. I think it might actually help your composition if he was just pointing the arrow that way at him. Because it's hard to read these guys over here, and it just like looks like you made a mistake in where he's pointing the arrow at the angle, right? So I would just kind of have the arrow pointing at the monster, and that way it would push your eye that way. Even though it's in the movie, he's not firing arrows at the monster. But anyway.
I'm going to mention one more thing, and we'll probably move on to different piece or different
we have
project.
to go to another person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll mention this. It's a little compositional thing when you're putting together a scene like this. It's very common to do this, and it's not a mistake, but there are better ways. Which is, right now you have basically everybody right on the same level. And a lot of times to get this cinema feel, what you actually want is the camera is lower than these guys. So let me grab these guys. You want them well over the camera. Okay. I also want to just where is the... Oh, I have to go to a different layer. Hang on. I was just trying to get rid of them because I need to move them around. That'll be just a quick edit.
Just want to have something back there.
Yeah, they are going to be bigger and going off over the camera, right? So now the camera feels like it's down among the people. It's lower than them. The action's going over us, and we get more of everything's kind of doing this. That he would be taller, right? His arrow would be pointing here, right? So everything's coming in like that, whereas here we're just getting this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's like subtle things now,
yes.
Dan. It's not like big mistakes or anything. Okay, so we have a comment I saw from Dunham that he also posted earlier on, and I guess we didn't see his portfolio in the correct order that was in. So I'm trying to find it in the Discord. Yeah, looking forward to meeting you at Lightbox, Dan. It's going to be good times. I hope more people from the community
I don't know what I'm looking for.
Are coming here. So he was earlier than some of these other people.
Oh, okay.
Now, we did already review some of these, Dudham, so I'm not going to review pieces we've already reviewed. But if there's new stuff in there, we'll take a look at that. Or do you have any specific questions that you wanted to ask about in regards to portfolio? I'll be right back.
Okay, material setup, magic stuff. I mean, this is nice. It's a good way to practice skills with material rendering and set dressing. A lot of people underestimate the importance of good set dressing. It can really help a scene. Illustration, neon rain. Okay. Magic bullet. Okay, there's a couple of new images. We've got a little magic alchemy set up.
Okay, that's cool. I like that dragon in a jar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we got cyber.
Created for Monty Cook. Okay, that seems like something they would ask for.
Yeah.
So I don't know the context of this other than cyberpunk. One of the things that catches me right off is the pose of the guy here, because when you are ever wanting to have someone attacking, you really want to have opposites for the shoulders and the hips. And that's how your body gets power. It's like you're going to hit a baseball. What do? You're twisting so that your hips are going this way.
Cranking it.
Yeah, you're cranking it back to come through. Right now, the shoulders and the hips are facing the exact same way. So the only power that they're generating is literally just through their arm doing this. So what you'd want is this hip being turned the other way so that the lower body's already twisting that way, and you're creating this tension through the torso.
So you want this one turning this way and this one turning that way.
Yeah. And that's going to give the feeling like there was a really strong hit about to come through.
Now I know that they don't give you a lot of time to do these. So, we know that for certain clients the turnaround is very short, but we're just pointing it out anyway. That's something that a recruiter would notice.
Well, yeah, and I mention that because that is independent of the direction that they give you for like what these people are supposed to look like or anything. That's something you could just build into your drawing as you're going. Okay, next piece. This is one of those. I bet this was just great to read this brief. Got a couple of these. Okay. We're disregarding any of the odd choices that they're asking for as far as mechanical arms and Western guns shooting magic bullets. All right, we're setting that aside.
That's the publisher. That's not.
So now what we're talking about is your purview as the artist rendering this scene. Immediately, something that strikes me, it would strike a potential employer, is the anatomy of that horse is kind of janky. So this is where you'd want to just buy a DAS model of a horse.
Or a horse model.
Yeah.
You had an articulated plastic horse.
I have an articulated plastic horse. If you have a lot of acreage, you could just buy a horse, have him pose for you.
Just buy a real horse. No, you can get like a plastic horse that has articulated arms and legs. I don't know if they're still around on Amazon. Probably. That's where you got yours, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or I like the DAS horse.
Mm-hmm.
With pre-made poses. Don't pose them yourself. Just use the pre-made poses because they're more accurate.
But a lot of this comes down to one main issue, and this issue is going to separate the work that you're getting at right now with this level of client and what the next tier or 2 tiers of clients will be. And that is, too much of this is being guessed. These pants and this pose feels like you guessed what it was. You drew it out of your head, and maybe you had a reference for the face, Maybe you had a reference for the gun or the hat, but I don't feel like this pose at this angle was referenced because it's not at the right perspective for this scene. These pants feel like they're guessed. That's not what the folds of those pants would look like in that pose if you're wearing jeans. So there's a variety of things like that. It's the horse pose, it's this guy's pose, it's that guy's pose, it's materials, it's the sky and the desert. Those feel like it's somebody's idea of what a desert and a sky would look like if they were just making one up.
I know you put a lot of effort in here. There's a lot going on. But then, like, in contrast, the sky feels phoned in, right? It's just very smooth. I also feel like this magic effect was very quickly done. And as someone who doesn't like doing magic effects, I don't like doing them. But they do. The reason I don't like doing them is because they do take some finesse to get right. So this is something that just finessing this effect, also for everyone, just be aware. We talk about this a lot with our students. When you're doing a magic effect, it's bright, right? It's glowing. You gotta find a way to drop the value of the thing behind it. Either that would have had to have a darker sky or a mountain back there or a cactus or something dark or another horse. I don't know, something back there. Because right now we have the values running together with the sky, right? Like here they run together, here they're starting to run together, and here and here. So it doesn't have that magical impact that it could have.
So I've given this advice out a lot about not doing the guesswork. It's going to get the models. It's setting up a 3D reference. It's getting a physical model, whatever it is. The most common objection I get to that is, yeah, but this client doesn't pay very much. Okay, you're not doing that effort for this client. You're doing that effort so that
for the other clients,
for the clients that you're going to show this picture to that are better than them. So if you get paid, I'm just grabbing a figure, I don't know what you got paid to do this, $200. If they paid you $200 to do this, it really isn't worth going to the amount of effort that I'm talking about for that much money. However, you are never going to get a higher tier client with this work with these problems in it. So you have to put more into this piece than this piece is really worth, because it's going to be more valuable to you later in getting other pieces.
And just to let you know, if we got a brief, like we get briefs of this complexity or higher for studio, like routinely. And a piece of this complexity for our team, it would be a 3D mockup would be mandatory. So that's part of our process. We wouldn't let anyone do this without a 3D mockup. So that is what's being done. That's how those effects are being achieved. So if you want to like match that quality level that other people are producing on those properties, you kind of have to use the same process, or it's going to be very hard to match.
Yeah. Okay, then we get into some other pieces that we've already seen. So, great to see you continuing to be busy.
I'm glad you're doing scenes too. That's good to be expanding. It's like the next thing is now, I honestly think a lot of these little errors that are happening, the pieces could be avoided by the use of a 3D mock-up or like a really good photo ref. But
that is what gets you to the next level. And a lot of people are not real open about the fact that that's what they're doing to get their results. But I can tell you, across the board, almost everybody is doing that in order to get the sort of results that you see.
They're doing a combination of 3D and they're doing photo shoots at home with friends and family members or with themselves. Yeah.
Okay. Next one. I think that was Enoch. Next. Nope, we got Help and Care.
Help and Care has a very cute name.
Yeah, I just had one image, so I don't have a portfolio pulled up. Just mentioned this, sent this one in. Said, training the one-day drawing of different vehicles from the Warhammer universe. Maybe that's an art challenge that I've not heard of. But anyway, one day image of a Warhammer vehicle.
Every day another vehicle.
Yeah. So let's pop it open. To help incur, which I don't know, you do like emergency medical, like right in a.
I don't know the meaning of the name, but this is the same person. I forget his real name now. And this is the same person who submitted all those really amazing Warhammer pieces back when you did the Warhammer special stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same
artist. Person.
Yes.
Okay, so for this, I don't know the context. For a one-day thing where you know you're not going to be developing this any further, I would start with what is the purpose of this thing that I'm doing. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it was just to familiarize yourself with the vehicle, or you're trying to create a quick keyframe, or what. So I'm just going to mention a variety of different things that are essentially, if we could just get this and try to make each piece, each element 10% better, what might that be? That's a good way to approach every piece. So you just think about, okay, well, if the colors can be improved and the design can be improved, if the action, the posing, just go through each element of the piece and say, how can I make it 10% better? And you can usually come up with that. So for this one, I did reference against some actual figures. I had to Google it. I wasn't familiar with this vehicle. It seems like some of them don't have the giant turret and some of them have the giant turret. So it looks like yours don't.
But it's otherwise symmetrical, yeah?
Yeah, but otherwise I think it's symmetrical.
Okay.
So if we could improve it, I would say that using different colors or patterns would make it more engaging, because it's essentially just the same color everywhere, and that's the same color as the background and the sand and the dust. So some areas having like pop colors,
maybe
or
chip paint,
blacks or reds, or some different tones in there. Camo patterns, that could be nice. Okay. It does. The giant turret is facing. Okay.
That's what I told you. It's the perspective.
All right. Then we would need to change that idea, because I don't know. I thought that was just like a air intake or something. I have no way to know that that's facing at me. We've got to get it sticking out. We've got to get it in an angle where we can see it and understand what it is.
Explain the ship better.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless the assumption is that the intended audience would already know this ship, and so they would know that. But if it's someone who's never seen this ship before, they wouldn't understand the actual.
Well, even if you know that, you're still making a guess. Yeah. Then why can't we have this bigger and at least see part of it coming at us? Right? Try to make it look closer to us. Okay. The other thing is, there is a bit of a symmetry issue here, where this is going at that angle, but the ship body is going at this angle, and those have to be 90 degrees, like three-dimensionally, which means that if the body is doing this, then this needs to be a counter angle. This one needs to be higher than this one, visually, because the ship's going at this angle. Or at least needs to be more level.
Yeah, if it's matching this one, then it's still off.
Yeah. So there's an issue there with, I think this one is pulling back high visually too far. Okay, other thing is, I don't know how picky we want to be with the design. Just when I was looking at those other vehicles, what I was seeing is the air intakes on the engines here have a different shape. They all have like a vertical, and then they kick into a angle there, and the manifolds set inside of that shape more. So maybe this is like a different
Warhammer
variation.
fans easily recognize every vehicle in the franchise. All right, okay. We're out of our league here.
So just changing that up a little bit. Okay. Other things would be, I mean, this is cool. I like the action going on here, so there's no reason that can't be bigger, right? We got space.
Even the ship could even be higher.
Yeah.
Maybe have more impact.
Yep. So why don't we make use of a little more of our canvas, scale him up, push him back here, get these guys more there.
Could we get some more crossfire or maybe another ship in the distance?
Yeah. What idea
like changing this guy's whole painting. Sorry.
Well, these are like, even though this is a one-day thing, these are quick Frankenstein shift things around stuff that you could do pretty quick. Can we get some fire coming in from somewhere else at this thing? Can we get some hot bullet lines, tracer rounds from this thing tearing through here? Can we get holes being blown in this thing? All right, I want to see like the machine gun and Matrix shooting through the window at the agents, just tearing through the room.
Back when Matrix was good.
Yeah. There was only the one. I don't know
was
what you were
one,
talking about.
That was one. Yeah, that was the time.
Yeah. Other things is we've got a lot of just error here. So this could be a place where we could try to create some turrets. It reminded me of helicopters that go through sandy locations, create these drafts that create these kind of spiral patterns. It could
be a full spiral, but like a wispy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some sort of current. So you could, get the idea like you're showing it pulling into these things, like it's sucking air in, right? You get that sort of flow. Well, that's some ideas. For a day study, cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love all of Help and Care's art. Just post more stuff in our Discord. We love seeing it.
You did a nice job of really controlling the values over here. The gesture of the guy is really nice. Definitely get that sense of impact. Mm-hmm. The little things like this, some of the decals, really nice. I would love to see more of that on this. I'd love to see some of those stickers, decals, numbers. Who is this? What faction is this ship from? That sort of thing.
Just more cool.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the notes there. Hopefully you found that helpful.
I just want to answer a question here. Let me just read the comment. Okay, what you need. Okay, I know what you need. What you need is you go Google search for Paul Scott Canavan's magic tutorial. Okay, that's what you need.
I'll type in the name.
And then, Clint's gonna write it. Oh, you already made a mistake.
Oh no, it's not following my typing. Hang on.
Just type gently.
Yeah, it's lagging behind me. Sorry.
This is what you need to go watch. Specifically, there's a whole video where he explains how he makes a 3D mock-up for a magic card. And watch the video that's in there that's called Daz and Blender tutorial.
Yep.
That's what you need. It's very easy and anyone can follow it. And all the people in our team have followed it.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a pile of licenses and everybody watched it. So that is what you need. Go watch that. That'll answer a lot of your questions.
Yeah, that's mandatory for our team now, is to watch that, follow similar steps with their piece to create mock-ups that will answer posing, lighting, perspective issues. Yeah. All right, we're already an hour and a half in. We got to pick up the pace here.
We're going to go for 8 hours straight like Asmongold now. A stream all day.
Okay. Well, we added 2 people in, so I don't know if we'll go through all the 6 that we had prepared already.
Yeah, we just tried to get the people that posted earlier first because we got them in the wrong order. So.
Okay, yeah, we're still actually going in order. I just messed the order. Okay, so next is Enoch. Enoch had posted.
Enoch is here, I think.
Yeah. Now, Enoch, we've chatted with you before, and you're going, wait, you guys already reviewed this guy's portfolio? Yes, we have. You're welcome to resubmit your portfolio if it's more than 6 months.
I think we only reviewed that one piece. I don't think we reviewed the whole portfolio. I don't remember.
So, don't resubmit often, and don't resubmit the same thing. We're not going to review the same pieces. So, on this, I got a review last year, did a lot of good. A couple of questions. Do my 2D painting skills seem lacking because of overuse of 3D? What's my biggest weakness? Am I avoiding any obvious challenges, not including difficult objects to paint or over-realistic or not entertaining designs? Not including these things. Well, not entertaining designs is a part of designs, so you can't not include that. Any portfolio pieces I should drop. Okay. So let's start here. So this is Enoch's. Okay. So we have looked at the ones here past.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at the newest
ones. We looked
ones.
up to here, so let's look at those. Those are new.
So both of these are based on the Whispering Tunnels, which is, as far as I can tell, a personal project. You don't mention anybody. You are using Blender and Photoshop, exactly what you should be doing for, especially for environment design. That's industry standard now. Now you are doing this in the direction of a keyframe. That it has full colors, textures, lighting, and this is a point where it starts stepping away from environment design to being keyframe, and that's a specialty subset of environment design. So this is where it looks like you are first piece in set developing Solus. Again, I assume Solus is your personal project.
Answer that question. I think it's on Gumroad. It's not free, but it's not expensive. I think it's like $10 or something.
It's not very much. It's definitely worth it. If it's $20 or less, it's worth money.
Yeah, it's worth the $10.
Okay. We've got some designs here. Pathways, doorways, some kind of table or altar.
Can I ask Enoch, what are there any studios in particular that you are aiming for? What job in particular are you aiming for? Like an environment design, like environment concept artist, or something else? I want to know where your head's at.
Got some, again, looks like some little altars. Some more wall designs, options, doorways. Giant snake that lives in the ceiling. I guess that likes to fall on people.
He just falls right on him.
Yeah, okay. Assassin's Creed ish. Okay. So Ubisoft environment sort of approach. Okay. Got a couple of points. I'm going to mention a point to Enoch first, ahead of looking at, we're going to go more into this piece and kind of break it down and talk about the design behind it and rendering and stuff. But I do want to start with one piece. It's a little negative, but it is a factor when you start trying to get work and look for jobs. And that is, I have given you feedback on this piece, fairly extensive and specific feedback, talking about how to convey the narrative, handling the design, the lighting, posing of the characters, all this sort of thing in a previous video. None of that stuff has been put in.
I guess we're just wondering why that was.
Yeah.
Did you have like difficulty implementing it, or were you like, I'm just over this piece, I don't want to work on it anymore? Like what was, because I mean, we assumed that if you wanted help improving it, that you're actually going to then try to improve it. So we're just wondering what was the purpose.
It makes me question a little bit the feedback that I would give you now, because the feedback that I've previously given you was not implemented. So I was curious, what about the feedback that I've already given was deemed that it was too difficult, unclear, not worth it? What was the reason behind not implementing it? And we'll try to make sure we avoid that in this feedback, because we want this to be beneficial. We want this to be actionable.
I'll let him think about that for a while. Let's go back to this. Now, I want to think about some of the questions that Enoch asked as well, which I thought were pertinent. So, is the 2D lacking because of overuse of 3D? I mean, there's nothing wrong with having 2D and 3D things in your environment concept art portfolio. Some of the concepts can be drawn, some of them can be painted. So I don't think that's an issue.
No, I was just over the piece. Okay. I did my best to tackle more environments, designs than keyframes. So I moved on and tried to apply call-outs, more showing of the actual environment and cinematography. Okay.
All right. Yeah, I get that. Sometimes you put so much into a piece that you're just done with it and you're over it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at some of these other questions. Biggest weaknesses, avoiding obvious challenges, not including difficult objects to paint. Okay, so I just want to tell you something on that note. I don't know if you listen to Feng Zhu's Design Cinema podcast. I don't know if he's still doing it. I haven't listened in a while. But some of the old episodes, he actually talked about this issue. A couple of these things that you're asking, which is like, because he's an environment designer, right? Your environments have to be entertaining. Like, that's just a prerequisite nowadays. And like, just showing that you can do 3D is not enough, because so many people are doing that now and have those 3D skills. So you really have to be entertaining with your environment. So here's Feng Zhu's.
Yeah, if anybody is not familiar, this guy is one of the best instructors and has some of the best videos and podcasts on concept art. And it is really, there is a, like, what would you consider it? Semesters of information. More than you will get going to college amount of information in these videos.
If you want to do environments, just watch some of these.
Yeah. So those design cinema only go up to 86.
I don't know. There's some that are like the actual podcast. I don't know where they are.
Yeah.
But just go look for it. So yeah, one of the things he says is like, you got to make the place you're designing. Okay, just stop that for a minute. You got to make the place you're designing fun and interesting to the viewer, that like they want to explore it. They want to say, oh, what's that about? Like, that looks cool, right? Oh, what's that game? I want to find out what game that is, right? So that's kind of what you want to try and give people, like make a cool place that they want to explore and find out more about. So it has to be entertaining. Another thing that you mentioned in your question is, oh, am I avoiding doing difficult things? And that's another thing Feng talks about is like nobody gets paid to do the easy stuff.
Yes.
Like everybody can do the easy things. So the people that get paid big bucks, they get paid to do the hard stuff. So to design the difficult things. So you really want to try to challenge yourself. It looks like it's pretty simple, like it's modular, and that's, maybe duplicated modules, and that's pretty much it. Show us something a little bit more that took more time to design, that's a little bit more elaborate or complex. So those are just the questions that you were asking, and I was just reminded of what Feng said about that.
Yeah, I agree. The easier it is, the less the industry is willing to pay for it. And the more developed it is, the more likely that they will pay for it. So for Enoch, I would recommend for a time stepping away from doing the keyframes, doing the more fully rendered scenes. Because what you're going to get, the best response is going to be from improved designs and not improved renders. Because a really good render of a bland design, it doesn't matter how good the render is, it's not useful. Nobody needs something that's bland. So focus more on the line level. You can just draw it. It doesn't have to be rendered or painted or lit or shaded, or you can just have basic tones laid in. That's fine. But the design is where you're going to get the most out. So we're going to explore this a little bit just for everyone's sake, to understand a little bit more about design and applying it.
And also, a thing that you're doing well, you're improving at, is you're going into things with a more human scale.
Yes.
So you're going into like smaller spaces, explorable rooms. You're working on, an altar and these little props, which are good. So you're moving in the right direction. Just needs to now be more developed. So when we say something needs to be more developed, typically what we're referring to when we say that is less developed. Something that's less developed is something that is the simplest version of that idea, or like the base kind of abstraction of that idea. So for example, if we go back to the other image for a minute, this image is kind of the first kind of abstract idea, thought I would have about a dungeon. So this is a good kind of, it's like a baseline generic idea of a dungeon.
Yeah, you've got walls, ceilings,
Stone.
Stuff is made of stone. There's some little lights. It's pretty dim. It's a little wet. There's some random detritus in the corners, but that's it. There's nothing beyond that. So I want to introduce you to the word semiotics. S-E-M-I, like semi, like partial. Semiotics really is the heart of what design is. Design is the application of the principles of semiotics, which is, semiotics is the association of meaning to object or imagery or symbol, all right, whatever that is. So if you see a red octagon, you associate that with stop. Actually, most of the time you see a red light, that's a negative, a stop, a cease. Like, that's how we associate a red light. Red light never means go. It never means clear. It never means, right? In the same way that if I show somebody wearing a crown, and this is one of the examples that we use in the class, is if somebody's wearing a crown, you are signifying that that person is a king.
Or a queen.
Or a queen of some measure, of some place. But you don't have a peasant wearing a crown, because that doesn't fit. You don't have an engineer working on a car wearing a crown. It doesn't fit. So every choice you make, by every imagery, shape, material, motif conveys something about the subject. And even when you choose to kind of do nothing, which is just use basic shapes, that also conveys something about the subject. And right now, what we have is something that's so pared down that it really tells me nothing about this location.
So if you were in a class with us, what we would ask you is, at this point, we ask our students, like, what could you add here to tell us that this is a dungeon?
Particularly for environment design, here are some of the questions that you need to ask, and you need to be able to answer them through imagery, not text, not a description on the ArtStation page. Every answer has to be a visual. You're using the semiotics and say, people associate this thing with that thing I need them to know. Mm-hmm. So I need to know time period. Period. That way. Or when. When is this taking place? Right? So if this guy was not here, I would say it's more modern times. Nothing about that architecture tells me that it's old-timey. Mm-hmm. Okay, we have culture. Is this from a really low technology culture? Is this more Asian? Is this more European? Is it more African? Is this alien?
Is it Mesoamerican?
Yeah. So what is the culture? And again, we can convey things. There are things that you would put in there to convey time period. There are certain materials, like you don't use glass walls on an old-timey castle, right? That's not something that they used. They don't have stainless steel staircases in a castle, right? So we have to be picky with that. We also want to have things like, I would say, like kind of just the mood is part of it. Is it supposed to be scary? Is this a dangerous dungeon? Is this
right now it just looks kind of abandoned. Is it abandoned?
This place, and for locations, a big one is purpose. What is the purpose of this location? So we say that this is a fantasy dungeon. Okay, well, that's fairly broad. People use a pretty big term for dungeon. So there's different ways we can say this. Is this a dungeon where there is cells, where people are literally locked up into like a prison? Okay, I don't have that. Is this an underground, we're calling it a dungeon, but really it's an underground aqueduct? Could there be flowing water through here where they're trying to channel water somewhere else? And there's like boats tied to the side where they haul stuff through here. Could it be just a passage underground to get from one place to another?
Secret passage.
Yeah, like a secret passage. Is this catacombs like you would have under some old cathedrals? Right. So any one of these gives a sense of purpose and place and time period that was sort of lacking with it currently.
This actually goes, this is in Feng Zhu's, one of Feng Zhu's podcasts, or maybe he mentions it several times, which is like in his classes, I know at his school, he always teaches his students the who, what, why, where, and how.
Yeah.
The image has to answer those questions visually, not in the description, but telling people, showing them all the things that explain what they're looking at.
So here you've established a motif, which is serpents, which have very flowy lines, and that's fine. But none of that is making its way into the rest of the architecture. So there's a disconnect between the building architecture and this design that you have on all of the items and altars and urns and all this stuff.
Yeah, we're kind of getting conflicting motifs here too, where we have triangles kind of stacked in sort of a Native American, Mesoamerican style, and then we've got like these spirals and curves over here, which is a totally different thing. So you could adapt these to be more like these, or you could adapt these to be more like that. It would just be more cohesive.
So I've pulled off some references, and I'm going to walk you through some of these. And this, what we're talking about right now, Enoch, this is the job. It's not making keyframes. It's not just drawing things. Just drawing things. Any artist can just draw things. This is design. This is where you've got an idea and you've got to have the visual connotations to convey those elements about it.
And explain it to the viewer.
Yeah. So here's a variety of different tunnels. We've got some tunnels over here, all earth. We've got some other tunnels, some outdoor tunnels. Okay, got some these tunnels. So when I look across these, which one are yours most similar to? I look at that, these.
The modern ones.
It looks like a modern tunnel. Okay, that's partially useful. It's good to have that answer, but the next question is why? What makes it look modern? Well, it looks modern because you've got these monolithic slabs of straight stone or concrete. That's not a design that they used back when, unless you were like in a narrow tunnel. Some of the narrow tunnels, you could have a straight slab over the roof and it was far enough that you could do that. But to make it look old, they almost always had vaulted ceilings. That's how you could stretch a larger span like that. And you're looking at the materials. How are they stacking this? What textures are they making with it? A lot of times these sorts of tunnels were built and rebuilt, built and repaired, modified,
times,
right?
Yeah.
So you see different stones here than you have here. You have different kinds of ceilings in some places than you have others. Another thing, this goes for any environments that you do, one of the first things that you want to do is change the level of the ground. That's something you do for video games.
It just makes it attractive to the viewer, like, oh, there's different things going on, places to explore and go up and down, right? Another thing Feng talks about, like, anybody who's not familiar with these podcasts or these things that we're discussing, just go watch Feng's podcast. They're so good.
So here, like, even this is pretty interesting. There's a wall, it's kind of hiding something, but there's steps going up and down. That's a cool idea. What if this thing has seen problems? There was an earthquake, or it's just so old, parts of it started collapsing. They started having to try to repair it.
It could even be like parts of the floor that have collapsed, and it could be a wooden bridge across or something.
So that's why I pulled this one over. What if part of the ground here fell into some sort of sinkhole, underground river, whatever it is, and they had to build a wooden bridge to get across part of it? Well, now that's more fun in the game, because when you're walking around, you're going to have water moving down there. You're going to have this rickety bridge. You've got to, determine whether it's safe to get across.
It's actually also good opportunities for sound design later on. Just shows that you're thinking about that.
What about growth? Could there be any plants down here? Are there any little holes where some pockets of light could come down? Can we have some vines and stuff growing?
So now we're talking about set dressing, right?
Yeah.
So we were talking about earlier the abstraction of the basic idea, which is the dungeon. Okay, we got stone rooms. Now when we answer the who, what, where, when, and how, it's like, okay, who lives here? What's the time period? Okay, we've talked about that. Now visually, what do we need to make it more interesting after we implement some of those characteristics? It's like you want to have a variety of materials, if you can. You want to have set dressing, so any objects that would make the space feel used or lived in, because that's the reason it looks abandoned right now, because there's nothing in it. And that happened with old movie sets. We used to watch movies. Even in a couple of scenes in Lord of the Rings, like in the Mines of Moria, there's nothing in there. They're just running in empty corridors. But when there is set dressing, it actually gives a sense of someone living there or someone using the space for something. So set dressing in this case would be like chains hanging around, ropes, cages or torture machines or something if you're doing that kind of dungeon. Cell doors, gates, that sort of thing that we're missing. Some rats running around, maybe, I don't know. Banners that are dirty that are hanging down that represent, whoever owns the dungeon.
Barrels.
Oh yeah, crates and barrels are awesome. Planks of wood. Everybody loves the wood plank. So this type of thing, which adds, it seems like, you're just talking about like garbage items, but that's what you put in a dungeon. The dungeon needs these things.
I pulled up another one, so I don't know what this is in relation to. I just came across it on Google. Okay. And so this is not dissimilar. This could easily be somewhere underground, but we could have the ceiling, the walls being held up or helped supported by big wooden columns like this. But it's not just one piece of wood. This is like 4 pieces of wood with cross beams, with diagonal braces, with metal supports wrapped around it, with banding, with large nails driven into it. That alone gives you a sense of culture, architecture, location, right? Because there are certain places that it will build things like that, and there are certain places that won't.
And go back to the other, I just want to see Enoch's original image. So another thing is, like, if it would be more clear about this entry being downstairs, like seeing more of the stairs going up. And then also would be neat to have possibly 2 chairs with 2 guards sitting here guarding it, or 2 guards standing at the doorway. This guy's just kind of here alone. So things like that, anything that we can do to explain to the viewer what's going on here, what is the space for, is helpful. So that's kind of, you're asking, that those things are what makes it more entertaining.
Yeah. So we want to show a little example of what this sort of looks like implemented for anybody that is interested in environment, location design. Paulo Glamgam.
I love Paulo. He used to work with me at Sin Studio. I think sometimes he takes mentees. I don't know if he's currently doing that, but I guess there's no harm in asking him if you wanted to do that. But I always show his work as an example of someone who really, he went to Feng Zhu's class. He really takes all these things into account. Every time he makes an environment, it's like everything is there.
Okay, so we want to point out a few things that he's doing that example the principles that we were talking about being utilized. So, you don't necessarily even need this. All right, the first thing you've got to focus on is this, and just make this good, right? And that starts. Oh, he's got a nice 3D there. Nice. Okay. So I'm sure he did other sketches. They're just not being shown. But what we see is uneven ground. There's a lower level. There's a medium level. There's steps up to a higher level. It's never just a square or a rectangle floor plan. That's something else that you could change with your hallway, is let the hallway curve. Let it split off.
Get stairs.
Get a fork at the back. Add stairs to it. Make the whole thing go up or down. Let it have a curve to one of the walls. Something that takes it out from being a square, because currently that's one of the problems, is that you're using too many just rectangles. They're too basic of a shape. We've got to find a way to shake that up and get some other influence there.
Yeah, let's go back to I love looking at Paulo's stuff. Go back to his main page and just see how entertaining some of these places are. Like, this is so okay. This is when he did, I think, the demo when he taught at Sin Studio when I was there. And so this was, what was it, a detective's office or something like that? Oh yeah, detective's office, there you go. And look at every wall, there's something different going on for you to look at. All these props are there. He doesn't skimp. There's all these areas that are lit, right? So that you know they're areas to go to and explore. And you can just see yourself in here going to these places, picking up clues, right? In detective's office, you're looking for clues. And you can see yourself doing that in game. You can visualize this as a real game. It's interesting, right? So this is great too. Look at this, like split level, all these little rooms going off. It just looks fun.
Now, also note, for anyone that wants to do location environment design like this, it's all about specificity. That's what you're being paid for. You're being paid to be the one to be really specific about there is this many tables, they have this color, they're this size, these are the things on them, right? It's easy to put together a general idea and kind of rough in what the environment is. Okay, I'm going to do a smudge back there to indicate something. No, there's no smudges. You're going to be precise. This is what is there. This is what it looks like. That's what you get paid to do. They need somebody that goes in there and can be really specific. So, yeah, just some beautiful pieces.
There's so many great pieces. Check out Paulo's portfolio if you want to see more.
I wanted to pull this up. So for yours, I get the impression, maybe I'm wrong, but I get the impression when I look at it that you're sort of just making up the culture. You're making up the shapes to arrive at this. And I feel like that because we're sort of defaulting to the simplest objects, which are just cubes. It's a bunch of cubes on cubes. And if you were doing a brutalistic office space, then something like that might work because that actually plays into the design. But otherwise, start with some kind of culture,
especially if you're thinking
and jump off of it.
If you're thinking about Assassin's Creed, like that's basically very historically inspired. I don't want to say historically accurate, but historically inspired. And so you want to think about, if I was making a portfolio for them specifically, I want to target them or a similar game, I would think, what's one culture they haven't done yet?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to do something like that. I go get something Mesoamerican or something like this.
So this is one of the temples in Angkor Wat over in Cambodia. So this is ancient Cambodian architecture. It's going to give you ideas for completely different shapes than probably what you're used to. It's going to get you out of just using the rectangles and the boxes. But even if you do, maybe you can use them in a different way, like you have in this ancient Aztec, right? You're still working with the boxes and the cubes, but this has a totally different feel.
What would an Aztec dungeon look like?
Yeah.
A Mesoamerican dungeon or a dungeon inspired by this or this type of people. Like what would that look like? What would it have in it? What would the utility be? They killed a lot of people, so maybe there would be like these huge rooms where they would just keep hundreds of people that they
sacrificial chambers. Yeah.
Maybe that's a little too grotesque for your portfolio. Maybe don't do that. But you get the idea, right? Like taking inspiration from a real culture that has some very definitive shapes and identity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Could you get something like this, bridge it into your snake motif, and have this kind of cube-like snake design that is meandering up the walls? It's got this three-dimensional relief pattern to it, which would make all the walls really interesting, or at least the supporting columns would have this sort of design. Something like Minoan, ancient Cretan sort of design. Again, something to just get you started. I found this next one, another one of Angkor Wat. How interesting that you don't see people building corners like this. I would never naturally sit down and design a corner that butted out with entrances like that. But what a cool way to do it. Like, could you have your entrance in your tunnel do something like that, where the tunnel sort of comes out and splits into a different shape? So
you're looking for this.
Yeah. So what if the wall's coming back there, but now we have this jut out where instead of one doorway, it's two, and each of these kind of come out even further on each side. And so you have two doorways like that and none that go straight in. That's unusual. but I've not seen that before. And that could be part of what they do, which is they never have this. They always have that, right? They always diagonal off all of their corners on their stuff. Mm-hmm. That could be part of the design language.
This is a top-down view.
Yeah, top-down view. But that's about what we can cover on this.
Just wanted to give you something to think about. I think the stream's already been going a while. We should probably stop.
Yeah, we do have some other ones, guys. We don't have a full set, so if anybody wants a review for next time, I think if you submit it in, we could probably get you in for the next review.
Let's try to do this again next week. We'll try again for next Thursday. So if any of you didn't get a review today, we'll try to do it a week from today.
And until you hang out with us again, hey, go check out Things Use videos. Really good content over there, completely free. And yeah, I'm seeing if there's any follow-up questions.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap it here, guys. If you have any questions or comments, feel free.
Enoch, stick with it. I know that we were just kind of hammering on this stuff for a while.
We're just trying to help. Yeah,
I hope that you take it in as constructive manner as possible, as we intend to everyone. Mm-hmm. Well, we don't need to tell everyone everything that you're already doing right. You already know that. So we're trying to help point you what the next couple of steps would be. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. A lot of stuff going on the Discord. So welcome to go to swatchesdiscord.com. Plug into that. Work on your character portraits. Hop into learning about character design, our theory on design. We go over that. Same principle, just applied to a different subject in the character design class. So, okay, we'll sign off for now. Thank you guys, and we will catch you next time.